Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we sift through the corporate filings so you don't have to. Today, we're diving into CPI Card Group's latest annual report. This isn't just about plastic cards, it's about a company navigating a changing financial landscape, so stay tuned because it's definitely not the same old song and dance. CPI Card Group, they're the folks who make a lot of those payment cards you carry around, plus some other cool tech and services tied to them. Think debit cards, credit cards, and even those prepaid cards. They just filed their Form 10K, which is like their yearly "Here's Everything About Our Business" report. This report is specifically for the year that ended December 31, 2024, so let's dig in. Before we get too deep, there's always a disclaimer to talk about because this is a financial report. The company is saying, hey, some of what we're telling you is about the future, and the future is hard to predict. Basically, things might not go as planned, lots of risks and uncertainties, so don't take everything as a guarantee. They even list a whole bunch of things that could go wrong, from the economy, competitors, cyber attacks, or even just keeping up with the latest tech. So what does CPI Card Group actually do? Well, think of them as being in the payments technology business. They make a ton of debit and credit cards for banks and other companies. But it's not just printing plastic. They also personalize the cards so the names and numbers are correct, plus they have instant issuance services which lets banks print cards right there in their branch. They want to add new products and services, think digital options, and also to sell what they already have to completely new types of businesses. This is big for them because they are trying to look forward and have a foot in the future, because technology always changes. When it comes to the cards themselves, they're making both contact cards, which you swipe, and contactless cards, which you just tap. But get this, they're also trying to be eco-friendly and also offering second wave and earthwise cards with recycled ocean-bound plastic. But these days, they're pushing into more personalized services where a customer can actually order a custom card and have it sent directly to them. This can even include working with industries that are not financial institutions. They've got a system called Card at Once that lets customers print cards instantly. It is installed at more than 16,000 customer locations. They're also a big player in those prepaid debit cards you see at the store, and they offer some pretty high-tech packaging to help prevent fraud. CPI boasts that they have long-standing relationships with customers. They're trying to put their customer relationships in a center of everything they do. With a long history and a lot of experience, CPI thinks it has an edge on the competition because of all the industry know-how. And who are they up against? The payment card industry is super competitive. CPI is battling it out with some giants like Thales, GSEC, and Devrient, among many others. Another major thing is suppliers. They get their parts from all over the world, and it could be a problem if something happens with those providers because many of them are single source and hard to replace. The government is also important. They've got to follow a bunch of rules, especially when it comes to privacy, data security, financial services, and environmental regulations. And then there's the whole cybersecurity thing. They really could be in trouble if there is a cyber attack. Let's dig into what keeps the executives at CPI Card Group up at night. Basically, this section is all the things that could go wrong. First off, the economy is a big one. If people are strapped for cash, they are less likely to buy cards or really anything. And then there's the risk of losing big customers. They also worry about competition. The payments card market is crowded, and those bigger players can make it tough for CPI to compete, so innovation is key, but that costs money. Then there is cybersecurity again. A major data breach could be a disaster. Supply chain issues are a constant concern because they buy components from overseas, so any disruption out of their control really hurts. And like many companies, CPI has a good amount of debt. This can limit what they can do with their money and make it harder to grow. A new thing companies are concerned about is ESG, which is environmental, social, and governance expectations. These days, investors, customers, and employees all care about this. If CPI doesn't keep up, it could hurt their reputation and their ability to get funding. Finally, there are risks related to the ownership of their stock, especially how some major stockholders can really influence decisions. Now let's peek at the numbers because this is what it all boils down to. Net sales increased, which is good, mostly from services. It looks like doing services to prepaid debit cards was a strong point for them, but there was a negative impact from economic concerns. Interest expense increased because they paid off some old debt and got new debt. It's more expensive now. Overall net income actually went down a bit, but if you look at the segments, debit and credit is doing well, especially with their personalization services. They signed a new lease to modernize their facility. Smart move investing in the future. They also bought back some of their own shares, which can sometimes boost the price, and they also use a financial instrument, revolving credit facility. Okay, we just covered a ton of the numbers and data. Now for the final thoughts. So after digging through the filing, it looks like CPI Card Group is in an okay position right now. They are in a niche market and they are not a giant, but a small fish has to adapt. I can see that cybersecurity is a growing concern for them, and it is for every business these days. Something that is a big risk to them is just the ownership structure of the company. Hopefully, over the next few years, they will become more independent, so it makes sure everyone's voices are being heard. That's it for today's Corporate Decoder episode. I hope you enjoyed that filing. Make sure to like and subscribe and tell your friends.